Have you ever looked at someone truly honest? Someone who works harder than anyone you know, who stands on unshakable principles, and who treats others with a respect that feels almost ancient. They're the kind of person who shows up early, stays late, and does everything by the book, even when no one is watching. They take responsibility for their mistakes, they never complain, and they never, ever ask for special treatment. And yet, you watch them struggle. Year after year, their lives remain stubbornly, frustratingly the same. Quiet, respectable, invisible, no raise, no breakthrough, no recognition. They are the silent backbone of every workplace, every community, every family, and they are perpetually tragically overlooked. Now, look at the other side of the coin. The ones who seem to glide effortlessly up the ladder. They cut corners, they shift blame, they play politics with the grace of a virtuoso. They're the ones who charm their way into power and accumulate wealth, all while secretly despising the very people they smile at. It's a bitter truth, isn't it? A truth we all sense, a deep, unsettling feeling in the pit of our stomach, but one we are too afraid to speak aloud. It's as if the world is operating on a secret, unspoken rule book, one that seems to punish virtue and reward performance, no matter how fake. But what if I told you it's not a secret? What if this isn't just a random twist of fate, but an intentional, brutal, and predictable outcome for those who possess one of the most revered human qualities? What if the very thing you were taught was your greatest strength is in fact your greatest liability? For centuries, we've been told a beautiful, comforting story, the kind of story you tell a child, that doing the right thing leads to good outcomes, that honesty, hard work, and humility are the paths to success, to wealth, to happiness. But what if that story, comforting as it sounds, is a dangerous illusion, a kind of poison wrapped in a warm blanket? What if honesty, when stripped of power, is not a virtue, but a trap? Because here's what they don't tell you about being a good person in a brutal world. Being honest doesn't make you safe. It makes you predictable. And in systems built on control and competition, predictability is exploited. If you refuse to lie, if you always take the high road, you become easy to read and easier to manipulate. Others will use your integrity as a weapon against you. They will lean on your conscience while they climb on your back. They will give you all the responsibility, but none of the credit. And when you finally break, you'll break alone. You see, we have this deep, almost spiritual association between honesty and struggle. We praise the honest worker while we promote the cunning operator. We admire the silent hero, but we follow the charismatic leader who talks a good game. The answer isn't just economic, it's structural. In environments where power defines outcomes, morality without power becomes servitude. And this is the core of our conversation today. The brutal truth that the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer was not afraid to speak aloud. You don't rise by being good, you rise by being effective. And unless your goodness comes with strategy, unless your honesty comes with force, the world will not bend for you. It will simply bury you. History is filled with forgotten names, men and women of immense character, of unshakable principles and uncompromising standards who died broke, alone, and unrecognized. They were honest, but they were not armed. And in a world built on competition, they were devoured by those who understood one brutal truth: integrity without leverage is simply an invitation to be used. The question is not whether you are a good person. The real question is whether you are prepared to survive in a world that doesn't reward goodness, it exploits it. So if you're ready to see the game clearly, to understand the price of integrity, and to learn how to keep your soul while still surviving this war for success, then I invite you to join us. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the truths we are about to uncover may just change the way you see everything. Last time, we began to explore the brutal paradox of the honest person, the one who carries a sacred burden and yet finds themselves perpetually struggling. Today, we go deeper. We will venture into some of the oldest stories in human history to uncover a hidden, uncomfortable truth, a truth that whispers from the pages of sacred texts and echoes through the timeless parables of wisdom. This is the story of integrity and the spiritual armor you must possess to protect it. In the Christian tradition, the story of Job is perhaps the most profound example of a righteous man being tested by forces beyond his control. Job was a man of immense character, blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He was blessed with great wealth, a loving family, and the respect of his community. He was the very embodiment of the virtuous life we are all told to aspire to. But then, in the blink of an eye, everything was stripped away. His children perished. His wealth was lost, and his body was afflicted with painful sores. His friends came to him and tried to rationalize his suffering, saying he must have sinned. But Job knew his innocence. He knew his struggle was not a punishment for his virtue, but a test of its very strength. What does this tell us? It tells us that goodness does not guarantee immunity from suffering. In fact, it often seems to attract it. Just as the purest gold is placed in the hottest fire, so too are the most principled people thrown into the most challenging circumstances. Their integrity is not a shield, but a lure. It is a sign to the world that here is a person whose soul is so pure that it is worthy of being tested to its absolute limit. And it's a truth that we see echoed in countless other traditions. In the Buddhist concept of karma, it is not always a simple equation of good deeds leading to immediate good outcomes. The path of a bodhisattva is often filled with profound hardship and sacrifice, not because they are impure, but because their very purpose is to serve and to suffer for others. They willingly and with compassion take on the burdens of the world. They become the spiritual backbones of humanity, just as the honest worker becomes the backbone of a company. And in both cases, their silent strength can be easily mistaken for vulnerability. Let's consider another example, a more contemporary and perhaps even more chilling one: the silent, invisible sacrifice of the good people in our modern systems. Ask yourself this: who gets the extra work dumped on them? Who is the first one you call when you have a problem? Who is the one you trust to fix a mess you made? The answer is always the good person, the reliable one. The one who won't complain, who won't quit, who won't push back. They become a tool, reliable, consistent, easy to control. Their refusal to play dirty becomes an opportunity for others to win without consequence. Their sense of duty becomes someone else's convenience. The very moral standards they hold for themselves are used against them as leverage. If you always tell the truth, others don't have to. They just need to stay quiet long enough for you to take the fall. And this is the hidden tax of honesty. The deeper your integrity, the more it costs you. Not just socially, but psychologically. Because real honesty forces you to go against your own primal survival instincts, to speak truth where silence is safe, to act with principle when self-interest would be so much easier. This creates a constant state of tension, a slow-motion breakdown between what you feel in your soul and what the world demands of you. You are not losing because you are kind. You are losing because you have been taught that kindness alone was enough. It is not. In this world, kindness without strength becomes servitude. Conscience without strategy becomes someone else's opportunity. So, how do we reconcile the two? How do we wear our integrity not as a burden, but as a spiritual armor? How do we build a life of principle without being crushed by a world that rewards manipulation? The answer is not to abandon your values. The answer is to understand the game so that you can play it without being devoured. This is not a message about becoming dishonest. This is a message about becoming unmanipulable. It's about learning to protect what is sacred and to use your very character as a source of power. It's about being awake in a world that prefers you to be asleep. If this message resonates with you, if you've ever felt this struggle deep in your bones, then I urge you to share your story in the comments below. Tell us how you've navigated this broken game and what you've learned. And if you're finding value in these truths, please consider hitting that subscribe button. There is so much more to uncover. We have arrived at the final destination, the point where philosophy meets action, the point where we stop talking about the problem and start designing a solution. We've established that integrity without leverage is an invitation to be used. We've seen how the world exploits the good because they were never taught how to protect themselves. So, what does it mean to be honest and yet to be armed? It does not mean violence. It does not mean manipulation. It means something far more powerful. It means you must become dangerous in your clarity. There are three core beliefs: quiet, persistent, and deeply ingrained, that keep good people small, broke, and replaceable. And if you are to survive with your values and your sanity intact, you must stop believing them. The first belief is this: justice is automatic. Many honest people believe that the world naturally rewards good behavior, that if you just work hard and stay kind, eventually you will be recognized. But this belief is not a truth. It is programming. Justice in the real world is not automatic. It is constructed. It is enforced. It is the result of principle plus power. Without power, morality is not justice. It is just hope with no leverage. The second belief: fighting is wrong. Honest people often avoid conflict because they confuse assertiveness with aggression. They stay silent even when something feels off. They let others cross the line because they fear being labeled difficult. But avoidance is not virtue. It is fear hiding behind good manners. In a world that rewards dominance, silence is not grace. It is surrender. And the third belief: saying no is selfish. So many kind people are trapped in the idea that good character means endless availability. They say yes to more work, yes to emotional labor, yes to carrying other people's responsibilities. But when you say yes to everyone, you are quietly saying no to yourself. Without boundaries, your kindness becomes exploitation. You give until there is nothing left. These three beliefs form an invisible prison, one that looks noble on the outside but quietly destroys you from within. Because when your goodness has no armor, it attracts those who know exactly how to use it against you. You are not poor because you are honest. You are poor because you were taught that honesty means silence, that being good means being passive, that being ethical means always stepping aside. But that is not virtue. That is conditioning. That is what weak systems teach strong people to keep them from realizing their own power. So, how do you protect your values without being devoured by a system that rewards manipulation? You don't have to lie, but you must learn to lead. You must turn your integrity into leverage. Build a reputation so consistent, so principled that people can trust you in a room full of liars. Make your truth a brand, not a plea. Think of Viktor Frankl. He survived the Holocaust not by fighting fire with fire, but by anchoring himself in meaning. He refused to betray his values. But he did not just endure, he taught, he wrote. He built a legacy so powerful that generations later, his words still move people to stand tall in their darkest hour. His honesty did not make him weak. It made him unforgettable. Or take Theodore Roosevelt. He did not apologize for his strength. He did not hide his ambition. But neither did he abandon his moral compass. He once said, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." That was not about violence. It was about presence. He knew that quiet confidence backed by real force is more powerful than shouting with nothing to back it up. You must become dangerous in your clarity. Not cruel, not manipulative, but absolutely unshakable. Let your honesty be sharp. Let your values be disciplined. Do not perform morality. Embody it. Not because it looks good, but because it works. Because when your character becomes your strength, when your silence has weight and your word has impact, you do not have to fight for your place. You become the place. Schopenhauer never promised that you would be rich. He wasn't interested in feel-good fantasies. What he offered was something far more valuable: clarity. He showed us why we suffer, why good people get crushed. But here's the twist. Once you see it clearly, once you understand how the game works, you stop being a victim. You stop expecting the world to reward you for your goodness, and you start choosing how to move through it, awake, aware, and unshakable. The world does not need more broken good men. What the world needs desperately is a new kind of person. Someone who is kind but not naive, honest but not predictable, principled but not afraid to draw lines, someone who can speak truth and still hold the room. If you have wondered why truth feels so heavy in a world built on performance, know this: your struggle is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are carrying something real in a world obsessed with image. But you do not have to keep carrying it alone. You can be strong. You can be strategic. You can protect what is sacred without handing it away to those who mistake kindness for permission. So let your integrity speak softly, but carry the sharpest mind in the room, because the world will always try to shape you. But when you know who you are and you know how to move, you shape the world instead.